really, but I kind of tend to do better on an empty stomach just because I don't want to be like all in the camera.
Most of the podcasts that I've filmed, I actually eat while I'm while I'm doing it. I got one recently. My buddy brought me a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and I was eating it while I was doing the podcast. But that's how we start, you know. We just start kind of shooting the shit, and then eventually, you know, next thing you know, we're in there.
You're a lot braver than I am because I cannot eat on camera, especially like in front of the microphone. It's going to turn into an ASMR video real fast.
You chew with your mouth open or something?
No, it's just I eat really fast.
Okay.
Like I would go to like a Twin Peaks or Hooters or wherever they serve wings, and the waitress would come bring me like a big old tray of wings. She'll step away for like 2 minutes, come back, and be like, "What the hell?
This boy's done.
Gone, no crumbs."
And what do you think made you eat fast? Like any job or anything like that you've had?
No, it's just the fact that like how do I say it? Whenever I was younger, it was just a big, you know, being Mexican, you get put in a household where it's like if you don't eat all your food, you ain't eating next time. Like I don't want to hear that. I ain't cooking nothing later on. You better eat all your food right now. And so when we were younger, my dad used to treat us. We used to go to like CC's, the buffets, Golden Corral, Ryan's. And like
whenever it was still cheap.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so whenever we would go to the buffets, it's like you eat as fast as you can.
Yeah.
All that you can, because I'm not cooking later. And so it instilled in me to just go, all right, this, yum, eating it up. And next thing you know, it's like that kind of followed me into adulthood.
Yeah.
Anytime I go to a restaurant, it's like, all right, bet, here we go, now.
Yeah. You start eating, yeah. I eat really fast too. That came from tattooing though.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'll be in a break and you're in the zone and
Time
you gotta
restrained.
hurry up, and just eat. My clients would be like, "Damn, you already ate." I'm like, "Yeah, quick." They're like, "Wow, what?" But a burger, for some reason, I could eat really fast.
Oh, okay.
I don't, not even on. I might need to go to a competition or do some kind of challenge.
You'd be surprised, man. Some of the people are just taking home,
gaining
no weight, eating as much as me.
Yeah, that's me, bro. I'm like a trash can. Like this, it goes in and out. That must have probably too much TMI. But but you were talking about your childhood though. So you're Mexican?
Yeah,
just complete
like, Mexican, first generation, first Mexican American.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. Same here. Your mom cook a lot of Mexican food?
She did, but man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I was a really picky eater. Like my parents would hate it because they would cook all this kind of food, pozole, menudo, and everything in between.
You didn't eat that,
and I didn't want to eat it. It just looked weird to me.
Like, menudo still looks weird to me. I can't eat it, bro. Like there's some people that make it with like small chunks of whatever that is, like intestines or whatever. That sounds gross. But I still won't eat it. I like the flavor of it, but I like more of pozole with the actual like shredded beef in there. That's easier to eat than menudo. Menudo is just kind of like chewing on a piece of gum.
Exactly.
Like, I didn't like the texture of the meat like that.
For me, it was more of a mental thing. Like if you didn't tell me what it was and just told me, here, eat it, my fat ass is gonna eat it. You know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do it. But then when you tell me what it is and I start thinking about it, it's like I don't want to do that no more.
Yeah. So what would you eat? Like more of like the tostadas?
No,
and, like,
bro. I'm finna just like put all these Mexicans to shame. As a kid, all I grew up eating was like straight pizza, chicken nuggets, hamburgers. Like, I was that kid.
The chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. I feel like I still eat like that nowadays.
Yeah. I try not to eat as much, but you know, I try to open up my expansion of taste buds.
Yeah, open your palate. That's what they say
there
nowadays.
You go.
Yeah.
It's just like in the time, you know, we grew up in South Park, so only thing around the block was McDonald's, Church's Chicken, Jack in the Box, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't too much that we had readily available right then and there. So there was a time where all we would order was like a Domino's, and they had that 5-5-5 deal way back in the gap.
Yeah.
So like we would order 3 pizzas for all 4 of us, and we just, you know, get pepperoni, cheese, hamburger, whatever it is, and it's the easiest thing because it was like it cost like $20. So you feed a full family with $20. Like, so we were getting that like almost every other day.
Yeah, that I remember. I can't remember the name. Actually, I do. It was called Shortstop. If you say you grew up in South Park, I grew up on Avenue C.
Okay.
So right there, Avenue C in College. You know where the Mercado's at now?
Yeah.
It used to be a Lucky 7.
Yeah, I remember the Lucky 7.
So we used to go to a place called Shortstop on 4th in College.
Oh, that little where Fuzzies is right now?
Is that what it is now?
I think
Fuzzies?
so.
Next to the gas station. They used to have a little small place, bro, and they used to give you like this ginormous box of chicken rings, like chicken wheels. Mm-hmm. We used to tear them up. We used to get like a box of like 100.
Oh man.
Yeah, for the whole fam, bro. Same thing. Kind of grew up very similar, like Taco Bell. Yeah. My family go to Taco Bell, and we had like 2 families living in one house. And we just bring like 60 tacos, Jack in the Box tacos, all that, man. It was always like a big amount of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you grow up just by yourself, or you have brothers and sisters?
Well, see, I'm the youngest of technically. My dad has about like 7 or 8 kids,
Oh snap!
and then my mom has 4. So together, I'm the youngest of all of them.
Oh, you're the baby then.
I'm the baby of like both sides. So I have 3 or 4 older brothers and 3 older sisters.
Oh damn!
It's crazy, man. Like
What's the oldest sibling you have?
the oldest, his name is Jose. He's like about 50 or so.
How old are you?
I'm barely about to be 29 come like next year.
Oh, okay. Dang, you got
Like
50.
I just turned 28 like
He
last
could be
month.
your dad, damn near.
Dude, it was crazy because like my parents popped me out. My mom was 35 and my dad was 42.
Oh, so you have older parents
Yeah, they're like in their 60s, hitting 70s right now.
Oh, okay. Man, I forgot I was about to ask you about siblings. Oh, I was gonna ask you, how was that having a big age difference with like some of your older siblings?
It was weird, but I'm kind of grateful for it because I see a lot of people nowadays kind of being born with their siblings like being a year or 2 apart.
Yeah.
So like it's a little weird because when you're a year or 2 apart, you'll be butting heads with your siblings all the time,
Yes,
constantly
I
fighting.
see that. Yeah.
But with me, my sister, the closest one to me is about 3-4 years older than me.
Yeah.
So she was still old enough for me to know that's my big sister. She has authority,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still close enough to be friends. And then my brother, he was 7 years older than me. So by the time I was 10 years old, he was 17. So, it was a lot easier because it was like, all right, he can guide me through, the whole process. He tells me what to do, what not to do. But yet we were still in that same age range where we were like sharing like clothes and rooms and everything in between. So like it's a nice little feel because despite them being like, oh, that's my brother, that's my big brother. Like and that big meant something back then.
Yeah. And he he's been through things and he's
Yeah.
looking out for you. Cause me and my sister, I have 2 older sisters, and one is about 7-8 years apart from me. She just turned 40. So it's 7 years. Yeah, she just turned 40, and then I have another sister who's a year older than me, and being her like just being so tight together. We kind of got in trouble together.
Oh yeah,
we did especially we went to King, bro. So you can only imagine like all the fights and everything, man. It was either her fighting or me fighting, or some other student said something to her, a male, and I had to step in. And it was always something, bro. Especially how we grew up in the avenues, or even South Park. It's almost like we grew up kind of on like survival almost, Yeah,
and it's like the crazy part about it is we were poor in the ghetto, but at the time we had no idea we were poor and in the ghetto. You know what I mean?
Because everybody else,
it was just a normal thing. You woke up, went to school, came home, you went to the store, ate dinner, and did it again the next day. Like you had no idea as a kid, like, oh, we're in the bad part of the town.
Yeah.
Like this whole time, oh, man, this is a funny story I tell people all the time. My dad would, on the weekends, whenever he was off of work, he would like take us to the quote unquote the flea market, right? So we'd go to the pulga and we'd go look for stuff, like toys or clothes or whatever it is that we caught our eye. And I remember it like vaguely. It was like an open concept, like, out yard sale looking thing. And I figured that's what the pulga is.
Yeah.
The whole time we were outside the Salvation Army, like digging through their donations.
Oh, la pulga.
Yeah, so like I thought it was the flea market. I thought it was the coolest place ever. The whole time we're just like digging through people's trash, and I had no idea. I could care less at the time.
Yeah.
But now I was like, oh damn, that was kind of ghetto.
When did you start realizing it though, that you were kind of like, man, I think we grew up poor?
Man, I was oblivious to it until maybe I was about 16, 17 years old. Like,
okay, so you was in high school.
Yeah, like
even middle school, it didn't.
It never dawned on me because, like, my picture of being ghetto and poor was a different picture than what we were living at the time.
Gotcha.
So, like, you could have told me, like, oh, yeah, this is ghetto. We in the trenches. Like, I'm cozy here. Like, this is everyday life for me.
Yeah.
Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, we grew up in South Park. So, back in South Park, Peach MacArthur and South Park Middle School were right next to each other.
Yeah.
So, every year for a certain season, for like spring break or whatever, they would have this whole big old block party. So, mechanical bulls, bounce houses.
Really?
Yeah, Boudin links, the whole shebang, Zydeco blasting over the speakers. And, like, it was a great party. Everybody got along. There was no fights until, like, the end.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We didn't know when the party was over. We just knew it was over when the police showed up, rifles, everything. Everybody dispersed, get out of here. And we weren't really scared as much. It was like, all right, party's over.
It's time to go.
Yeah, back home.
Yeah.
And, like, we used to go to AK Park, and we had no idea, like, that it had the reputation it did. But we had fun. Like, nobody ever bothered us. We knew everybody in the neighborhood.
Yeah, the avenues in South Park, it was, if you lived closer to South Park, then it was like you were safe going there.
Yeah.
But we didn't know much people in the South Park. I think that was kind of like crossing jurisdiction for us. You
for sure.
had I remember there was a family that we always butt heads with, and then I'm speaking for like everybody in like in the avenues. They call it Little Mexico.
Yeah.
It was a family. They were called the Barlows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember them.
I know them.
Yeah, so we used to always butt heads with them, but then it got to a time where we got older. But it was like all middle school. It was always like clash of heads
Yeah.
anywhere we went, bro. And even in school, and then. Once we got into high school and stuff, everybody started growing up a little bit,
Yeah.
and everybody got along.
Yeah.
That was pretty nice because, man, there was times where we would leave school and people would be following us, and we would be like, "Damn, we're gonna get smashed across the head," or or we see somebody by themselves, and we're just like, we're about to smash them. So it's just it's crazy though, and I realized this like in the past few years was like how much I grew up on survival, man, and how much that shaped us growing up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's so many things, like some good things that came out of it, and then there's some things that you're like, man, like it doesn't have to. I don't have to think that way anymore or be like that, which sucks because you don't want your kids to ever kind of grow up like that.
You're repeating the cycle.
Yeah, like it's cool because you're like, oh man, I'm street smart, I'm tough. You could put me in the hood right now and I'm be good. You could put me somewhere else and I'll still be good too.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of trauma that we didn't realize.
For sure. The crazy part is like I grew up in South Park up until about like halfway through elementary school, and then my parents moved, and we ended up moving towards the West End. And like even then, the West End where we are right now is like the opposite side of the train track. So we're not in the decent side. We just happen to be on the West End. That's it.
Okay. Are you over there by Vincent and
like
Amelia?
right off of College? You know what I'm saying? Like right there. Like not
okay.
on that side of the train track, but on the opposite side of the train
Oh,
tracks.
gotcha.
Before it gets good.
Okay.
And so like I didn't get introduced into like crossing jurisdictions. As far as my knowledge at the time was South Park was all that existed. Everywhere we went to was in South Park. So when we started going out to the West End and then we started venturing in between, it's like, what are these avenues? What's the North End? I don't understand. What is that? And I had met a couple of buddies of mine, once we got to middle school, that he lived on Avenue C.
Yeah.
He lived on Avenue C, and we were just at his house 24/7. And it wasn't until then that I started realizing that, this is a turf thing. Like this is you stay on your side, I stay on my side.
It is, yeah.
And like there was a lot of beefy ass dudes. Like shout out to the dudes that worked in Mercado. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
And, they were like these OGs. These people that just didn't take no kind of crapping from anybody, and they stood on their ground.
Yeah.
And so like it was kind of okay. So it's a lot bigger than just South Park. Like this is where I'm from. This is where he's from, and there's a lot more different things going on right here. So it's like that's when you start to like envision that, and you start seeing it a little bit firsthand, and you're like, all right, I need to be on my P's and Q's because you just never know who's going to feel some type of way.
You were out there thinking that just because, it was like, no new person, you want to meet them, but then you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it always was, man. Even, so I went to King, and then I got kicked out of King for fighting. Me and my sister started like this huge riot, and we got kicked out. So 7th grade, I could either go to Pathways or I was able to go to Marshall Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, what's Marshall Middle School before I go to Pathways? So I went to Marshall, and the principal there, I can't remember his name now, but he was like, this is your only chance before you actually go to Pathways or even homeschooling. And I was like, I'm in 7th grade. I don't want to, go to Pathways. It sucks. You got to wear a uniform, all that stuff. So I went to Marshall, and that's when I really opened up my eyes to it. Not only like now do I know like there's different sides of town, but now there's different types of people.
Oh, yeah.
I remember there was this kid, Connor McDonald. He actually is one of my clients now, and he has a gym up in Austin too. But I remember him asking me, he was like, where are you from? And I was like, the Avenues, where are you from? But I said it like kind of like checking him too. I thought he was checking me. And he was like, no. Like, I was just kind of curious to see where you're from because I wanted to see if you wanted to play basketball with us after school. And I was like, where I grew up at, we don't do that. We weren't like, hey, bro, let's go play some sports. It was like, bro, let's go break some windows. Let's go, break into something. I don't know. Always ride bikes and see what we get into.
Go get some spray paint, find an abandoned house,
Yeah, hot Cheetos and a juice box, cruise avenues and meet up with everybody. But what kind of kid were you in school though?
Man, that's the crazy part is I was a really high academics kid. I was the smartest kid in class 9 times out of 10. And so once I got to a certain level, like middle school, like I went to Odom Academy. And so when I first started at Odom, I was part of the Pegasus program.
Bro, you had to be smart to go to Odom. You had a test to go to Odom.
Yeah, like you had to pass all these like blue flags and whatnot. So I got accepted in there and I got put in the Pegasus program. But then like right after, that's when like life started getting real, like things started happening in my personal life that kind of affected my academic life.
You started understanding things.
Yeah, you know, like shit sucked. And like my biggest flaw was at the time, my mentality was, I'm smart enough. I know the material, but what I got to prove it to you for? Like, what do you care? Like, so like after that point, I just stopped taking tests seriously. Like I could pass the test. I just didn't feel like doing it. I didn't feel like sitting there for hours and going through the test.
It was boring.
Yeah, it was boring to me. I was bored of this. Like, I just wanted to go hang out with my friends.
Because you knew you could do that. That was easy to you, right?
Yeah, because like all my friends from elementary school, they ended up going to like Vincent, to King, you know. They went out there, and I'm over here
the fun schools.
Yeah, you know, with all the Mexicans and they're all the hood dudes. I wanted to be with them, but I'm over here at Oldham with all these other people that like are just obsessed with academics and grades and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling it. So I remember just like, I want to go with my friends. I want to get out of here. So I remember we were doing like a math final, and instead of doing the actual test, I just zigzagged down the entire Scantron to finish it and get out of there quicker. Yeah. And so I did that. By the very next year, I got dropped from the program. They put me in like an honors, and then from honors, I went to regulars because I didn't really care.
I thought honors was like up there. So there's like levels to it.
Yeah, there was levels to it for sure. And like, and at that point, you know, it just kind of went downhill for me because like I just stopped caring. Like, and that was my biggest flaw. I didn't care about. I didn't really care about like the grades or how it would affect me. Yeah. Had I known it'd be like, you know, a big reflection of my adult life. Yeah, I probably would have paid more attention. But at the time, you couldn't tell me nothing, man.
Yeah, I feel it's funny because I always tell that story too. I actually zigzag through my Scantrons too. Or I would try to mark on top, like where the machine marks, whatever. Like I would just do one of those. And I remember all the smart kids in high school would be so pissed because we would get in there, sit down, and then just do that and get right back up. And all the kids, I remember this one girl calling me a dumbass. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to lunch. Like, see you later. I'm going to take my dumbass to lunch. But same thing, bro. It's not that I wasn't smart. It's just I didn't care for it. Yeah. I wanted to do art. That's what I wanted to do. And honestly, I remember I wanted to be an art teacher in high school, and then they told me how much they got paid. And at the time, it sounded great, but there was a different time, you know. Yeah. I don't even know how many years ago, 15 years ago, compared to now. They probably get paid way better. But at the time, I think they were getting paid like anywhere from like $20,000 to $30,000 a year. And when you tell that to a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, you're like, yo, 30,000. That's a lot. Like you hit the lotto. But you know, now we're adults. It's just like, bro, that's like, all the bills and rents and all that will burn that out quick.
Like 40, 50 ain't even nothing.
Nah, yeah, you get burnt out on that. So, but that's crazy that we had a similar experience on that, where I was just kind of like whatever, and yeah, so this is crazy. When you were in school and as a kid, did you ever break any bones? Like,
ironically, no, bro. Like I hyperextended a lot of different joints.
But
like,
you never broke anything?
I've never broken anything, thank God. Like I dislocated my fingers. I did wrists, elbows, shoulders, knees. Like I just got done with my knee surgery not too long ago, but I've never broken a bone.
That's crazy. Me either. I've never broken one. Yeah, I've had like bone bruises, torn ligaments, stuff like that. Places. I hurt my foot one time. And the doctor was like, "You were better off breaking your foot than having a bone bruise." Yeah, that was bad, bro. Speaking of injuries, man, you just recuperating from an injury yourself, or recovering from an injury.
For sure. Like,
how's that?
Come October, I fell off a ladder at work, and I landed on my feet because it was like about a couple feet off the ground.
And when you say a couple of feet, what's a couple of feet? Because I know when people do certain type of jobs, they say 15 feet, so it's a little bit of feet. Or
like I'm not gonna cap to make myself all macho.
It was 30 feet.
It was like like about 2 or 3 rungs on a ladder.
Okay.
So like maybe 2 feet off the ground.
I thought you were gonna say 10.
2 or 3 feet off the ground, and I was installing these window panels. So I had to get on my ladder to like get to the top of the window, drill them in. And so when I was screwing them in, somehow like the legs of my ladder just like slipped out from underneath me, and I went straight down. So initially, off the instinct, I just kind of landed on my feet. I figured that's the best way to do it. Landing on my feet, my knee tweaked in real bad, and then tweaked back out. So I kind of felt the impact, and in my head, I'm thinking, it's just the impact. I just scared myself. I'm good. So, but even then, it's like something like that really kind of pulled it a little bit. Let me just sit down right quick. So I put myself on the floor, and I'm just like getting my breather in, getting my breath back and whatever. I hop back up. I try to walk, and my thigh just shifted over my kneecap, and then back to where it was. And I was like, "Oh shit, that's not supposed to happen." Yeah. Let me sit back down. So I sit back down. I sat there for about 30 minutes, waiting for like the time to pass, maybe like the initial shock to go away.
Yeah, I was gonna say the shock. Yeah.
And so like after about 30 minutes laying on the floor, that's whenever my knees started to start throbbing, swelling and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not good. Yeah. Like I need to call my boss. I called my boss. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to ER. And he's like, do you need an ambulance or something? I was like, nah, man, my mama ain't raised no bitch. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you sure? I was like, I'm gonna try. So like, we were on this porch. It was like about 3 feet off the ground. It was like a big old slab. And so I couldn't stand and I couldn't walk. So I had to roll like off the porch and get to the edge of it. And then whenever I tried to walk towards my car, it was a no-go. My coworker had to carry me, like firemen carried me to my car. He helped me in there. And then I just called my friends and I was like, hey, I'm headed to ER. When y'all want to meet me there with a wheelchair because I cannot walk?
Yeah.
And they're like, are you sure? Like, where are you? I'm like, dude, I'm like smack dab in the middle of Fournette, like in Taylor's Landing. And I'm driving the Baptist. So like it was about good.
Oh, you were
30,
way out there.
Yeah, we're like 30 minutes out. And I'm just like excruciating pain, bro. Like, couldn't feel anything, couldn't like, but it was just like pulsating and whatnot. And I'm just trying like so hard to focus down this country road to get back to the hospital and whatnot.
You're sweating and everything, right?
Bad, man. It was so bad. Like I just cranked up my music because I wanted to like drown out the pain.
Yeah. You were driving, just fucking sweating the pain.
Bullets. And
You were jamming like
I didn't have
21
any-
Savage, and people are like, man, he's jamming out there. You're in pain.
Yeah, like the whole time on the whole ride there, I'm just kind of like, thinking to myself, like, man, if my dad knew about, that I hurt myself and I'm crying about it, he'd be so mad. Like, so, like, I'm just hearing, like, mama ain't raised no bitch. Like, I ain't gonna cry about it. I just get to where I need to go. I get to Baptist and they couldn't tell me anything, bro. Like, they were just kind of like, all we can do is run an X-ray. We know it's not broken. And I'm like, I know it's not broken. If it was
something's
broken,
up though.
Yeah, like something's not right. But like I can walk, I can stand, so I know it's not broken. And so they're like, well, we can't run an MRI without like insurance and whatnot like that. So I had to call my boss, had to go through workers' comp, and bro,
while you're in pain,
while I'm in pain, like they put me in an immobilizer that keep my legs straight, and it took about 2 weeks for them to get back to me and say, oh, we were approved for the MRI. You want to come get it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So what they send you home with? Any pain meds or anything?
Not a damn thing, bro.
So what'd you do?
I just sat at home and just took it like a man, bro. I took the shit on the chin. Like I sat there. I remember they gave me some crutches and an immobilizer. All they said was keep the foot elevated and rotate between Tylenol and ibuprofen. That's it. And so I went home, went to the store, grabbed me a bunch of pill bottles. Just kept.
You drove yourself?
Yeah. Drove myself, and it's hard whenever you're in an immobilizer. Like I had to put the seat all the way back. And kind of like toe touch the gas pedal. Yeah, like ghost riding at that point.
Was that your left or right leg?
My left foot. So like
okay, so you were still driving with your right foot.
Yeah, like
right?
It was a little awkward, but I could make it work.
Yeah.
So I get back home and I just was rotating between Tylenol and ibuprofen for a good little minute. And then 2 weeks later, I went to the doctor, got an MRI. Doctor says we could take the MRI, but I can't tell you the results until another couple of days. So go back home and wait for our call. It was about maybe a month into it that they finally called me and they're like, hey, yeah, so turns out your ACL's torn. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I'm not a doctor. What does that mean?
Bad. And
they're like, yeah, you're going to need surgery to repair it. It's not going to repair itself. You're looking at about like 6 to 8 months out. And I was like, 6 to 8 months? And he's like, yeah, you can't do anything. Like, stay at home and just, wait for the further instruction. So I had to apply for like workers' comp.
Yeah.
And man, them benefits ain't nothing.
It's like $20 off.
I went from making like, close to like $3.5 at the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So I was making $100 a week. Like that. And I'm in an apartment. I got to pay rent. I got to pay my car note, insurance, cell phone.
Are you married?
No, it was just me.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like I had to eat, I had to pump gas. Like it was still a lot of things. Like, and I was still involved with like the community. So I had a bunch of like commitments already set up.
Yeah. You were out completely.
Yeah. Like I was still trying to go to church. I was hanging sheetrock for the Hope Clinic right before I got hurt. Mm-hmm. So like they were expecting me that same day. I couldn't do it. And, there was all kinds of things with the kids that I wanted to do. Halloween was like that weekend. So like, the kids are like, are we going trick-or-treating? But like, despite all the pain, bro, I still went. I still took the kids trick-or-treating on crutches and everything. We went down 23rd. It was not a smart idea. I'll give you that. It was not a smart idea.
Yeah, but you still did it.
Yeah,
though.
like for because they wanted to go so bad, and I didn't want to be the very like, oh, we can't go this year because I'm hurt. Like,
yeah,
I just I went. I got a luchador mask because I'm a fan.
Uh-huh.
I put on the luchador mask, and I just put on like a big old title belt. So if anybody saw me, it's like, oh, he's a wrestler.
He's a wrestler.
But the whole time I'm underneath the mask, I'm just cringing so hard because I'm like in so much pain. But I didn't want the kids to see that. So I had the mask on. I just went about my day. Like if anybody saw me on 23rd that day in some crutches, you probably saw me taking a break, just sweating bullets, bro. Like, but I went. They can't take that away from me.
Oh man, that's crazy. But that also shows like how the mental toughness on there, because a lot of things that we do, as humans, I feel like the first thing is just like, how can I get out of this?
Yeah.
Or how can I quit? Sometimes.
For sure.
So the fact that you basically went against that and just completely push through it and practice that mental toughness, bro, that's not even on some macho shit. Nah, that's just like
It's a mixture of macho stubbornness and just like straight will. Cause like right after they told me like, all right, surgery set for December. I
Yeah.
got hurt in October. So it was 2 months before I even got like operated on.
and you most of this time you were just laid up when you didn't have to push through that mental toughness.
Yeah, you know, and like so what they say is whenever you tear a tendon like an ACL,
Yeah.
the muscles around that tend to start overcompensating for the amount of force you got to use. So
okay.
I was in an immobilizer for about 2 or 3 weeks where I had to keep my legs straight. But after a while, about that first month, I started getting kind of comfy with having it straight, that I started moving around a little bit more. I took the immobilizer off. I went to Walmart, got myself one of those little like hinge knee pads.
Like they have like a copper or whatever.
Yeah,
in them.
one of those, and I just would put it over my jeans just to like not be so tight on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And with that, the muscles started compensating, and I learned how to walk while having a torn ACL. So there's like pictures of me at church and whatnot, squatting down, and that was like pre-op, because I was just getting so used to it that I didn't want to stay down.
Yeah.
And so like I would still be able to do a lot of things. I was still walking around on my own. It just it tickled a little bit. It had a little bit of a sting to it, but I was doing it just because I didn't want to sit down. I refused to stay down.
Now explaining that on a surface level, how was that like? And we talked about mental toughness, but how did an injury like that affect you mentally? Like when Angel's sitting there in his apartment alone, like,
Man,
because people talk about depression and a whole lot of things. Like what'd you face?
man, I'd say depression was real. Cabin fever is real. Like that took a really big toll on me because like I'm such a hands-on kind of guy. Like I cut my own hair, I change my own oil, I cook for myself. Like I'm so independent.
Yeah.
But whenever it's come to a point where like I cannot physically walk, like I needed help putting on my pants. I needed help getting in the shower. Like I needed help getting on the toilet. Like it took a lot.
Yeah.
So like to know that I went from being completely independent to now I'm completely dependent.
Yeah.
I cannot do anything for myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a very prideful person. I take pride in knowing that.
Yeah.
And so it killed me to have to ask someone for help.
Yeah.
Like I got a quick little exit story is I was really big on protein at the time. And so
like
I remember going
protein intake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm really big on that. So I would always make my protein shake in the morning.
Okay.
I go to my kitchen, I grab my little ghost powder and I'm setting up my little shaker.
Yeah.
I go in the refrigerator, I ain't got no milk. So I called up one of my sisters and I'm like, hey, so can you do me a favor? Can you go to the grocery store, grab me a gallon of milk and bring it to me?
Yeah.
I would go myself, but one, I can't drive. Two, I can't walk with a gallon of milk and on crutches. I can't maintain that. And so she was like, yeah, just let me run my errands right quick. And then whenever I'm done, I'll slide by and I'll bring it to you. So she ran her errands. Errands took a little too long. She never came. So I'm just sitting there like, so my milk? She's like, hold on. Whenever I'm done, I'll go. I was like, all right. So I can't do anything but wait till she's done until bring me my milk. And I didn't have milk that day.
Damn, bro.
And like, so it does take a toll for sure. And then like knowing that, you can't go anywhere, you can't ride it comfortably. Like I couldn't ride shotgun anywhere. I had to get in the back seat and like sprawl across the back. And it's just embarrassing, bro. Like it's so weird.
You felt almost like a burden, you know?
Yes, bro. A burden, like for especially with someone that was doing everything on their own and was the one like providing for others.
Yeah.
To be a burden and then have like people coming out for you, it's like it's so
to
embarrassing.
be the helper, to be in the one being helped. Yeah.
And then like I'll tell you, man, right after surgery, the 10 days post-op were the closest things to hell I've ever been through. Like it was so bad.
Why was that?
It was just like the pain is excruciating.
Oh, okay.
The pain.
So you were in pain for how many?
Man, dude,
like
I was in pain for like
2 months?
two or three months straight. And it was just like
Same level of pain, maybe even worse.
it was a fluctuating. So one day you got good days, some day you got bad days. It really depends on like what you're doing,
Oh wow.
Because like if you're just stationary sitting on the couch, you're fine. You're not too bad.
Yeah, elevated.
Yeah,
Did you have it to where like if you put your leg down, like you would feel that pressure on your knee
absolutely.
throbbing?
Absolutely, because like say for example, recliners work is whenever you're pushing down on the recliner to get up,
Yeah.
your knee naturally wants to bend,
Yeah.
and it's not supposed to bend. So if you have like say your thigh sitting on the cushion and your like shin and your ankles like dangling off that edge, it wants to bend and it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So like that little feeling of like it just drops is fucking killer, man.
Oh,
Like
man.
it is crazy. And so like if you're sitting down on the recliner, you're fine. There's no pain. But it's
Yeah.
the moment where like, oh well, I gotta pee. Let me get up.
Yeah.
That process of getting up and getting your crutches ready and hobbling over to the bathroom. God forbid you just happen to like step on a toy or it's like, maybe that floor is a little slippery
Take
and
it, yeah.
you take a quick little jot and next thing you know you had to step down on your foot real hard. that pain is like
Yeah.
next level pain.
Whenever I hurt my foot, and this is me trying to relate to you as well. Whenever I hurt my foot, my girl Katie actually, because if I brought my foot down, it would hurt, man, like bad. You know, like I'd feel like somebody stabbed me on the foot. So she had to drag me from the living room where I was sleeping at all the way into the shower and help me get in the shower, and then put me on a on a blanket and drag me across. We had wooden floors when I lived in Austin.
Yeah.
So that was help. If it was carpet, bro, I would have had carpet burning my butt
Everywhere, brother.
But she was pulling me around, man. That's one thing that I never forget. Whenever I think about like people who like got my back, you know, who are there in my corner, bro. It's like big, and I'm pretty sure you have those people as well that helped you out through that.
For sure.
That you know, you'll forever be grateful for, man. But that's I think that's one of the things that people don't realize with the injuries. They're just like, oh, yeah, he hurt himself. But like, it's really important to be there for your friends and people who are hurt like that, you know, with injuries, because that depression, man, I felt it too, bro. Like, and then especially with the medication I was taking, I've never taken medication at the time. The doctor was just like, here's some pain meds. Like, all you got to do is wait it out. And for me, it started messing with me. I started having like suicidal thoughts and all this stuff. And I started feeling that burden in me where I was like, man, like, I'm tired of like, my girl doesn't deserve to take care of me for these 3 months and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm done. But it was all like the pain meds and like being fucking in cabin fever, bro. That shit was so bad. I watched everything on YouTube. I watched everything on Amazon, whatever, Prime, and everything, bro. I as much as I could, man. I got bored of YouTube, which is crazy because you're like, there's so much stuff on YouTube. But I got tired of that too. But it's crazy.
But yeah, I would say that one of the things that I gained out of that experience was there's an old phrase I kept hearing over and over again was that breakdowns create breakthroughs. So when you're down and out and you're like at the very, very bottom, you have nothing but time to think about where you want to be, what you got to do, and how you're going to get there. Yeah. So like while I was down, I told my church people all the time is like I was able to, before I went down for surgery, I was able to walk around. So like, you know, I had a new knee brace on and I could only squat down to a certain extent, but I could still be, you know, completely independent. And so I went to First Wednesday prayer night at Redemption. And so I went there, I went to go get prayers, and Diane, she was actually there praying for me. And she asked me like, you know, do you want me to put hands on your knee before you go into surgery? I said, hey, go for it. And like, at the time I was on crutches. Yeah. And so like, you know, I sat there for a little bit. And she put hands on me. She prayed and prayed. And while she was praying, I swear to you, man, like it felt like I had just wet myself. Like I had just completely wet the bed. I had a warm sensation going down my left leg, going across my kneecap, like strictly over my kneecap, not the thigh and the shin, just the kneecap. And so I was like, that feels really weird. Like that's not normal. Yeah. And so she looked at me. She's like, are you okay? I said, yeah, but can you keep going? She was like, yeah. She kept going. And she prayed for me. We sat there for a good little minute, and like I just felt so good. And then on my way out, I noticed that like that pain that I had walking in wasn't there anymore. Oh, wow. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and I hopped out of bed, went to the bathroom. And while I was using the bathroom, I realized I'm not using my crutches. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, this is not hurt no more? And I started messing with it. I was like, it's not hurting no more. Like, yeah. And so I remember I called them like right after, and I was like, yo, you're not going to believe this. Like, I don't need my crutches right now. Like, I'm not even like still pre-op, haven't been operated on. And it went so smoothly. Got the surgery done. Fast forward like 2 weeks. I wasn't, you know, mobile at the time. Yeah. Wait about 2 weeks. I went back to Redemption for the first Wednesday in January. And the same thing. I had Doug. He went and he prayed for me. He put hands on me. And the very next day after that, I didn't have that throbbing pain anymore. I was more lenient. I was more limbo. Like everything was just going that much better because I had the people in my corner. Yeah. And then like when I went down, I still had like people set up a meal train for me. Like my small group reached out to me. Yeah. I had people delivering food to me. I had people like cash apping me money for groceries and whatnot. Just helping you out. Like a community. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's one thing I'm not used to. I'm not used to having people in my corner. I'm so used to being independent. I'll do it by myself. Yeah. And so it was a really, really like humbling experience. One of the most humbling experiences of my life. And it's just like, I remember I posted a couple excerpts of like messages that I had with my group. And it was just kind of like, dude, y'all don't understand. Like, I'm so I feel so useless. I'm like completely done with this. You know, the workers' comp is not helping me whatsoever. Like, everybody that's supposed to be helping me, it was bad. And like, whenever I got out, they had prescribed me some Oxycontin. So Oxycontin on paper is cool and all, but what's like whenever you can't move anywhere, the minute you pop it, you got like about 5 minutes, and the next thing you're just gone, dead. Oh no. you wake up and like, it's like a GTA shift, like
Yeah.
you go to sleep in GTA, you wake up, it's nighttime. And that's exactly how it felt. There was no dream. It was just you pop one, you go to sleep, you wake up, it's been hours later. It's like, I didn't know what day it was. All I know is my leg hurt. As soon as my leg hurt, take another one. And that's how it was. It went on for about like 10 days like that. And then once I finally ran out of those, that's where it got even worse because now I'm coming off of
withdrawals.
Yeah, then that shit sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't sleep. I was irritable. I was awake for like about 4 days because I couldn't sleep.
Oh, wow.
And like I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. Like, the medications had like clogged me up real bad, so it was just like my stomach was constantly
Bro, I should have bricked literally.
Bro, yeah.
I should have fucking brick because whenever I had the injury too, the doctor didn't tell me like you need to take stool softeners.
Yeah.
And also like when you take because I've never done drugs at all like that, so I was like, man, like once I get off of it, like he didn't tell me what to do. So first of all, I got constipated really bad, like really literally shit a brick.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was on a wheelchair and I was like, I'm ready to go back to tattooing. I missed it. It was 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I'm going back. So went back and I was like, I'm good. My foot still hurts a little bit, but it's elevated. It's fine. Mm-hmm. And then that same night, once I stopped taking them, bro, I started feeling like there was shit crawling all over me.
Yeah.
I became very like irritable and angry real fast.
You were not a nice person to be around.
No, my girl, because I told my girl I was gonna get off of them. That's I think they gave me like I think it was like 30 pills or something like that. So it was just like enough for like a month or whatever. And after that I was just like, oh shit. Once I realized it, I was like, damn, I think I know what this is a withdrawal. I think this is a withdrawal. And so I slowly started taking less and less and less, and in a week I got off completely.
Yeah.
But I've always been very wary with pills. Like I know how like it changes people, so I was like I never want to do that. But that pain at the time, bro, it literally had me in tears, bro. It was bad,
For sure.
So I always kept that in mind. I was like, man, I don't ever want to do that again. But sometimes you have to, bro. You can break a bone, like that's a whole different pain level of just breaking bones, bro.
For sure, man. It's like whenever I got received the Oxycontins, my first thought was like, man, I need some money. How about I just, flip them? You know what I'm saying? Like, flip them. And
my boy turned into a drug dealer real quick.
Like, I only had about like 20, 30 pills. So I was like, I can make so much money off of these.
Yeah.
But then it's like that day came and I was like, oh, no, I need these. Like, these are different level pain. Like, it was just throbbing, swelling. Like, couldn't move an inch. And it was just like, oh, man. Like, my roommates have seen me cry so many times because of that.
Yeah.
There was an instant where I couldn't lay in my bed, because my bed was like, it moves around a lot.
Yeah.
So like I needed to keep my leg completely straight.
Straight, yeah.
And so like if my bed sinks in, it's going upwards and it feels uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah.
So I had to sleep on the recliner. And there was one instant where like I was taking them and I woke up somewhere like at 3, 4 in the morning. Roommates are already in their room, they sleep with like a white nose machine, so they're like completely out of it. It was 3, 4 in the morning and I had to pee really bad. And so I'm like, all right, I don't need their help. I can do this myself. So
there you go, Angel again, dependent.
And I'm like, bro, I'm like maybe 4 or 5 days post-op.
Yeah.
So it's like still very fresh. I get off the couch, I reach for my my crutch, and it was a little too far out of my range that I started reaching. I slipped and I fell straight on the floor. And at that point, that nerve just like shot straight up through my like leg into my stomach, and I just wanted to throw up and die.
Yeah, that pain is
like it was bad. And I just remember laying there for a good little minute, thinking to myself like, why me? Like why I got to do this right now? Like why? Like I couldn't even like scream out for help. No one was gonna come. Yeah. Like I'm just sitting there like crying to myself in the dark on my living room floor. Like I'm literally as far as bottom as I can possibly get.
Yeah.
And it's just like at that moment, that's where it started like talking to me like through some kind of interdimensional type of like relaying some advice. It was kind of like, hey, I know it sucks. Breakdowns create breakthroughs. Like there's a cliche saying that there's always a rainbow at the end of the storm. There's always a silver lining. Like I hear that all the time, but nobody ever want to talk about how much it sucks getting rained on. You know what I'm saying? That
is true.
Like nobody ever wants to talk about that. They're always like, hey, keep going. You're gonna get there eventually. It's like, but how long is it gonna take, bro? Like I'm tired. And and it just kind of started making like sense to me at the time. It's like we give our biggest battles to the bravest soldiers and whatnot. Yeah. But like I didn't sign up to do this. Like did I just get drafted? I don't be part of this.
Yeah, did I get drafted?
And so like I sat there for a good little minute and it just started to make more sense to me.
Yeah.
And then like after a while, when I finally like calmed the hell down, I was able to get up on my own and I went to the bathroom and I went back to the recliner, sat down, went to sleep, and I woke up like just whenever you're real stressed, if you take yourself a good nap, you wake up the next morning, you're a little bit more clear-minded. Yeah. You can like think a little bit more sane.
Yeah.
And like so after that, I I had decided to I made a very, very like horrible decision. I was invited to a birthday party, and I was like 5 days post-op.
My buddy's been locked in for a minute. He's been,
And like, they invited me to the party months before. So like I had already had the commitment to go. And I figured like, well, my surgery's that same week. I've never had surgery before. So I'm thinking 5 days should be more than enough time for me to like, start moving around.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
So come the day, I had arranged for a ride to pick me up. And that ride had flaked on me like maybe an hour before the party. So now I'm just like, man, I need to get out this house. Like cabin fever.
Yeah. You need to you're excited to see other people too, bro. Like, you've been inside of a box, literally.
Legit. And then so like my only other option was I have my cars right outside. My keys are right here. There's nobody here to stop me.
Independent Angel again.
I hop in my car. And I jimmied my way into a car. Like, there's no way I bent my foot in there. I had to like hop on the side.
You was like this.
Yeah, like all in there. Like my best bet would have been sticking my foot out the window, bro.
Out the passenger one, just straight up splits.
It was bad, bro. But like I made it. I legit had to tuck my foot because it was like in a little brace. I had to tuck my foot behind the brake pedal for me to be able to drive comfortably. And I would have to like move it around when I wanted to brake. So I only had one more Oxycontin left at the time. So I wanted to wait until I got there to take it so I didn't look like a weenie in front of everybody.
Yeah. You'll be kind of pain-free.
Yeah, so I get there, I pop it, I walk inside on my crutches, I start saying hello to everybody. Like, the whole group was there. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing, man? They're like, oh, what's going on? You look great. Like, you're doing great.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just putting on my little front. Like, yeah, I'm doing great.
You're just happy to see people.
Yeah,
like
so I'm just cheesing from ear to ear. Like, I'm just so happy to be out. And then like we had fun. The kids had fun at the birthday party. We sang happy birthday, had some cake. And then when the party was over, it was time for me to go home.
Yeah. And
that period of time, Oxycontins don't last that very long.
I didn't know
so
that.
2 hours into it, that's where the pain starts coming back. And now I'm stuck in my driver's seat like, I cannot make it home. I cannot.
The pain was that.
I could not focus on the road. I could not go home.
Oh, man.
So the closest person that lived next to, in that area where I was at Jumping World. The person that lived closest to that was my sister. So I drove to her house and I sat in her driveway. I gave her a call and I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? She's like, what? Like, can you take me home? She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I'm outside. Like, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
Like, I drove. Boy, I've never been chewed out so much.
Like a little kid.
Man, she called my other sister. My other sister called my mom. And all three of them just ganged up on me.
What are you doing?
Exactly. Like, what are you doing? Thinking? Like, don't stay at home. You're not supposed to be doing this, this, and this. And ultimately, they gave me an ultimatum. They're like, either you're going to listen to us or we're just not going to help you. And so they drove me back home. They drove me back to my apartment. They just like stormed in there, went straight to my room, grabbed me a little suitcase and a bunch of clothes. Didn't ask me about what I wanted or nothing. Just like, where's your toothbrush? Where's your charger? And they just packed up my whole suitcase and that you're going to go stay with your aunt. So my aunt was an old hospice patient. So her house is like tricked out with like safety bars and handicap showers.
She has experience with all that, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, you're going to stay here with her and your mom and you're going to let them take care of you until you get better because we cannot trust you to be at your apartment by yourself driving your car. And I was like, man, I was not trying to hear that. Yeah. Like, my aunt doesn't have Wi-Fi. She doesn't have TV. Like, her highlight of her day was sitting on her porch reading her Bible, like. Yeah. And so I stood there.
Very disconnected.
Very isolated from the world. But I think that was really what kind of set it aside for me to, like, want to strive to get better a lot faster. Because instead of, being at home watching YouTube and whatnot, I'm just sitting there with the good book. I'm just sitting there, like, I was on the floor doing my little calisthenic for my recovery and whatnot. And I was there for like a week, just straight. The only people that came to see me were the people that gave a fuck about me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I had like a handful of people who would come see me. My roommates would come see me almost every day. And, I was just, I had a lot of time. So I would just be on the floor, lifting legs and doing raises and trying to bend that knee, try to get back into the process of it. And then mind you, we were supposed to start physical therapy like that week after surgery. I didn't start physical therapy until like a month after.
Why is that?
Workers' comp is one of the hardest things you have to deal with when it comes to recovery because they want to know why and when and for what. And it was just a big old thing of like, well, we're submitting applications for confirmation and we got to wait for them to authorize it for us to even start. Yeah. Like, it'd be different if it was like my personal insurance, but it was workers' comp.
Gotcha.
So they just make it so much more difficult. They don't want to pay for anything. They don't want to, they had like, lawyers on retainer just ready to
they're ready
disprove anything. And so, they
don't want to pay up.
Exactly, man. And
that sucks though. And then you have to, sit there and suffer through all this.
Yeah, like I had to Google like rehab therapy exercises to do on my own. So whenever I got to physical therapy, they evaluated me and they're like, hold up, you're like 3 weeks out, how are you this far along? I was like, dude, I've been busting ass. Like,
Yeah, you're trying to get back.
like,
Yeah, you're trying to
on
get
my
back.
own, just like at home by myself. Like, I have no guidance whatsoever. I
Yeah.
have no one to tell me if I'm doing it right, if like this is too much, if this is too little.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just doing stuff at this
Yeah.
point. And so when I got to physical therapy, they're like, you're pretty far along, and you're only like 3 weeks.
Hey, you don't need us, bro.
Yeah, like, essentially that's what they said. They're like, well, I'm supposed to go through like the first round of physical therapy, but by that first round of physical therapy, I was doing exercises that were like coming along in the third round because I was just so far along.
Oh, you were, yeah, and you were just like watching YouTube videos and stuff
like
to
I was
help
just
you
googling
out.
stuff and taking little itty bitty things like lay on your back, or do your leg raises, do your
Yeah.
little side planks and whatever. And like I was just doing that to get the mobility in there. But once
Yeah.
I started doing like the actual exercises, I start physical therapy. They're talking about toe stretches and calf stretches and like, dude, I've been doing deadlifts and like lunges in my room. like, I need y'all to step your game up.
Yeah,
And like I guess like my stubbornness and my like refusing to sit down really
Yeah.
did kind of factor into my recovery. And I will always say it bothered me a lot because a lot of people would be like, oh, it's just because you're young, Like,
yeah,
I told my surgeon that, and I was like, is it really that big a factor that I'm young? And he looked at me, he was like, dude, you're 28. Like, I've operated on dudes way younger than you that
Yeah.
weren't half as good at 6 weeks than you are.
yeah,
He's like, so don't let that be your thing. Like, you're not, because you might just be young. You're a lot younger than a lot of
Yeah.
people, but
that's not why.
yeah, like your effort really puts you over that top. Because like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of younger people that just don't want to move, scared
Yeah.
to move. Oh, that hurts. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I was in pain for a long time, but
Yeah.
my dad just instilled that whole like, oh, get through it. Men don't cry. You'll be
Yeah.
alright. This is gonna throw a lot of people off, but English was my first language. Obviously, I did not learn Spanish until I was like 13.
It wasn't your first language, you said?
No, like say Spanish didn't come to me until I was like 13 years old. I did not
Wow.
speak Spanish at all.
Wow, how'd that happen? Because your parents are Mexican.
So like I went to an English speaking school, like elementary school, Peter MacArthur, middle school. They all were speaking English, and then
Yeah.
when I get home, me and my siblings spoke English. It was just my parents spoke Spanish.
Oh, and sometimes they wouldn't practice that with y'all.
No, not at all. Like my
Yeah.
dad didn't even teach me how to drive, so he didn't really get involved with us as kids.
Yeah,
But like if I wanted to talk to my parents, I would just use my broken Spanish, and they just kind of understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So they never really corrected me. So
Yeah.
my Spanish was like awful growing up.
yeah,
It wasn't until I hit like 13 years old that I started getting invited to be parts of like quinceañeras and whatnot. So
you kind of had to. You had to be around all the tios and everything.
I started revisiting with all my uncles and aunts and whatnot, even
Yeah.
my grandparents, and it was kind of embarrassing because I couldn't talk to them.
Yeah, you couldn't even say like full sentences,
At
right?
all. Like they would,
Yeah.
it wasn't the same as talking to my parents because they didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, you feel kind of dumb too because
Yeah,
you're
you
like, this word in English. Hey, how do you say that? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. So
Yeah.
like I decided to make it a mission of myself to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
And so I would start I would watch like reruns of like El Chavo del Ocho on Galveston.
That was a
I
good
used
one.
to watch El Chapulín Colorado.
Yeah.
And listen to a bunch of like bandas, corridos. And what
Yeah.
I would do is I would go on YouTube, look up the lyric videos, write down the lyrics, and then translate them later on and just practice over and over and over again.
Damn.
So like I was like translating things like Banda MS, Banda de Recodo, Tigres del
El
Norte, Los
Recodo, yeah.
Huracanes. Like I was
Yeah.
just translating all of that over and over and over again. And so like I finally got to where I was comfortable not speaking Spanish, but using the script I was writing down for my sales.
Yeah.
I would translate that in Spanish.
Oh, gotcha.
So like I was just saying the same thing in English, but in Spanish to Spanish customers.
Yeah.
And to them, I spoke Spanish. And so, it was just trial and error, practice. Like
yeah.
I had maybe like thousands of different customers, and like I just got enough practice to where I was comfortable talking in Spanish. And then that kind of relayed over to when I started doing construction. There's nothing but Mexicans on the construction
Yeah,
crew. So
yeah.
now it's
You
not
gotta
just
communicate.
exactly. Now it's not just a formal script that I translated. Now it's slang. Now it's like
They're teaching you their words now. Yeah.
and so it's like I got people that are from Veracruz. I got people from Michoacan, San Luis, Guanajuato, and it's just like they all speak differently.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell. I had to learn that too.
Like it's crazy because like then you come across like Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, and they all
Yeah.
speak differently. So,
Yeah.
but at the same boiled essence, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so
it's a dialect, right? It's
for
a
sure,
different
yeah.
dialect.
And so like I had to learn that, and I'm just really like you said, I was really smart, so I knew
Yeah.
how to put it together, flow it together.
Yeah.
So like I'm not gonna say like I'm a master at Spanish, but I know enough to get my point across. I can keep a conversation going.
Yeah.
I can make you believe I speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And so like I was doing sales like that. I learned Spanish doing sales. I learned how to talk to people doing sales, and it went from a mom and pop flea market shop. Then I started getting offers from working at like T-Mobile. I went to go work at like classic car dealership. You know, like I was doing a door-to-door Kirby sales for a good long time. And like I did about maybe 12 years of sales.
Yeah.
And I just got so much good experience. I made a lot of good money. But it's just, I got to a certain point where I got burnt out. You know, like I got tired of, because I developed a conscience halfway through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I got tired of trying to finesse, Grandma and Pa Joe out of their life insurance, settlement, because like I'm just trying to fast talk them, selling them something they don't need that doesn't work.
At the end of the day, you're doing your job, but
Yeah,
didn't
like,
feel good.
Yeah, like my morals weren't lined up at it anymore.
Exactly.
Like I was just like, I was in love with the money, but then it's like, an old friend of mine, he was like, don't spend your life trying to chase a million. Take some time to go hug your children. And like cars and jewelry can't hug you back. I had to learn that shit with an ugly feeling.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like I'm making all this money. Like I remember like for my 25th birthday, I had made a good amount at my commission job. And I decided to ball out. I went and like rented like the Megatronics video game truck. I had like, laser tag and archery and shit. Like I had all this whole thing that I wanted to do because I didn't get that as a kid. So
yeah, you went out.
yeah, like I wanted to have a kid's birthday party, but like as a 25-year-old man.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
And like I invited like all my nieces and nephews, all my friends, and we all just hung out. Like the kids had fun. Like they had so much fun. But like I had fun knowing they had fun.
Yeah, you were living through them in a sense, and knowing the fact that you were able to give that and make them happy.
For sure. And then it's like the parents or the kids that were invited, they were kind of like, well, I don't know if I can chip in. Like, don't worry about it, bro. I got it. Like, I made enough so I don't have to ask y'all for nothing. Just bring the kids. And, and that's how that went for a good little minute. And so at that point, when I discovered that I liked giving back to people or doing stuff for other people and not expecting anything in return, that's when I started like diving into the church, And, they have so many different outreach programs. And it's like, if they need me to do like, I'm not official or anything, but like I cut hair. So like if somebody's outside and they just have a big old burly, nap on their head.
Need some help.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to say I'm going to, looking like, one of these barbers out here, but I'll clean you up.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like, well, I don't have any money to pay for it. Don't worry, brother. Like, you're getting a nice cut. I'm just considering it practice, Like, I don't expect anything out of it.
And what church do you go to?
Redemption.
Redemption.
601 Park Street, by the way.
There you go. Shout out Redemption.
You know what it
Shout
is?
out Pastor Byron, Trevor, everybody from the staff, man. Everybody there's great.
Oh, yeah. The greatest staff right there. I can't imagine the different. I've been to plenty of churches, and that one just hits a little bit differently.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I started going there probably, I think it was like December, November, somewhere around there. And I went one time before, but I deal with like real bad anxiety too. And it was like right after COVID. So like it was a lot from like not doing anything, and not going anywhere, into like boom, a whole entire like concert right in front of you, bro. I was just kind of like, oh, this is a lot. But and then I went back again. But man, I love the way Pastor Byron preaches, man, and how he shares his his life with the sermon and all that. It just makes you feel like, man, like everybody here is just practicing to be better and do better, live by the word. So
I
really enjoy it. How long have you been going there for now?
I'm making 3 years coming this September.
Nice.
Now I say, like, I told Byron this the first time we had a coffee together, and I tell this story all the time. It's like I got invited by my sister to go to Redemption just because she was hanging out with some friends. She didn't want to go by herself, so she invited me. So my first day at Redemption, everybody just kind of like looked at me a little weird, like. Not in a negative way, but just kind of like, hey, that's a new guy, You
could tell, who hasn't been here. Even your body language without you even noticing, people could tell, like, you're a new guy.
And that's, me too. Like, I struggled with a lot of anxiety. Like, I was so used to, like, being this extrovert at work where, like, I have to be friendly and whatnot, but not on my personal time. Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to nobody. Like, don't even look at me, bro. Like, I'm just trying to find myself a little corner, go hide away, and try to get this message because apparently it's going to help me, right?
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I sit through the first service. And I'm just nudging my sister the entire time. It's like, man, I'm a salesperson. I know a salesperson when I see a salesperson. Like, Byron's on stage trying to sell me religion.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to buy it.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, shut up. Stop being like that. Just open up a little bit. Like, I'm just saying, like, I call it how it is. Now I ain't trying to buy none of that. And, and that's how I felt that first day.
Yeah.
But I was like, but if you swear by this, I'll come back next week and see what's up.
Yeah.
So I came back that second week. And I sat there. Mind you, I haven't really talked to anybody. I said hi to maybe one or two people.
Yeah.
I come back that second week, and he preached a sermon, and he said something in the sermon that really stuck with me. He was like, for all of you new believers, the ones that are sort of, going on your journey, just know that redemption is the place that turn cold hearts into beating organs again.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that, and I was like, dude, I've been cold for a very, very long time. Like, if you say you can make me warm again, we gonna see about that.
What What made you that way? Because
Well,
as a kid, you weren't like that.
Yeah, no, as a kid like that, it's like when I said when I was in those honor programs and life just got real.
Yeah.
My sixth grade year, after I finished sixth grade that summer, my older brother had passed away.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
he went to a soccer game. He was going to watch Mexico versus Panama at the Reliance Stadium. He didn't make it out of Liberty. Some dude fell asleep at the wheel, T-boned him, and that was a wrap.
On the way back?
On the way there,
Oh.
so he had just left the house, and next thing you know, that we get a knock on the door. It was like a sheriff department. It was like, hey, yeah, so you guys are next to kin. We're looking for his parents. He's been in an accident, and so like that's when life just got real. So he lasted about like 10 days in the hospital, and then he passed away. And so like it was kind of like a bittersweet because like at 12 years old, that's how I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
You don't really understand death. You don't understand grief and what it does to people. So whenever that happened, it went from being, like I said, he was 7 years older than me. He was 19 at the time. And so, I'm 12. I'm barely getting into that age of like prepubescent,
Yeah.
why my armpits stink, like, why am I growing, like facial hair is coming out.
Yeah.
And the person that's supposed to be there to tell me why and what to do is not there no more. And so like all that guidance.
Your role model.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm the baby. And all I had around me was my two older sisters.
Yeah.
So my sisters can't tell me why I'm a man and why I'm like, doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like trying to figure it out themselves, and they're grieving their loss of their brother as well.
At the same time, yeah.
So like it kind of put a big damper on the life that we had, because then my parents, like, they just lost their son, and like
so them feeling that too. That's a whole different.
And so like he was my dad's junior, so that was his boy.
Yeah,
Like my dad was a big soccer star. He was a soccer star. So like he had a lot of like, my dad took it really hard. Like he took it really, really hard. My mom did too. And so growing up in that little phase of teenager-ish, they weren't paying too much attention to me. They were just kind of like, focusing on him, focusing on themselves, trying to get themselves out of the rut. And I just kind of flew under the radar for a good little minute.
Yeah.
And
you
so
were just kind of there almost,
Yeah,
right?
bro. Like I got arrested my first time, like the year after.
And you were how old at that time?
I was like 13.
When you got arrested?
Yeah. I got arrested because I was looking at some houses because I would hear my parents talk about like, oh, we can't afford the rent, we're gonna get evicted or whatever. I got arrested because I saw some for sale signs in front of my school, so I cut class, went to go check them out, and the neighbor had called the cops on me. Said I looked suspicious because I was looking in the windows of these abandoned houses.
Yeah.
And so I got arrested there, and they didn't charge me with anything, but they just took me back to school.
Yeah.
But like it was a nice little eye opening because like that's just how life is. Fast forward to like 16, now I'm selling at a middle school, at a high school. And I got my first felony because apparently if you have, weed on campus, that's a felony.
Yeah.
So I caught my first felony at 16. I caught two more by the time I turned 20. And then I caught two more by 21.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, like, by the way, 5 felonies, no convictions.
Yeah.
Quick little plug. But, life got real at that point in time.
Yeah.
So by the time I started going to church at the age of 25, I was like, dude, in the year of 2021, a lot of my friends had passed away. Yeah. Whether they got shot, whether they died of a disease or a car wreck. Like I went to 7 funerals in 2021.
Wow.
And it's just like, it weighs on you a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
But like I was already so used to grief that it was like second nature to me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't shed a lot of tears with my friends because it was like, hey, at least you're not in pain anymore. At least
you
you're not
became a little numb, would you say?
Oh yeah, real numb. Like a lot of things don't bother me anymore. Like it takes a lot for me to get out of character nowadays because I'm just so used to people trying it.
Yeah.
And so like whenever I started going to church and he's like, this is where we turn cold hearts to beating organs. I was like, all right, we're going to see about that. Because a lot of people have tried. I've been through programs, this, grieving counseling. Like, everyone's tried. Better people have tried and failed. So we're going to see.
Yeah.
And so, like, I went back the next week. And I remember he did a service the third week or so. And I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, like, who told you I was coming? Like, who told you I'm here?
Who's talking to you?
Yeah, like, like, why are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Like, who told you I was going through the ringer and I needed to hear this? Like, who told you, like, that I was coming? Who stooged this off to me? Like, was it one of these people out here? Like, yeah. Like, and then it's just like, I said that to one of the elders, and he was like, you know what that's called, right? It's called catching the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
I was like, I ain't trying to hear that, bro. Like, what is it about this place that makes it so relatable and so interactive? And they're just like, that's what it is, bro. Like, catching the Holy Ghost, God's talking to you, but he's using Byron as a vessel to relay that message to you. He's just so good at what he does that he makes you feel that.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'll bite. And so that's when it was like, do you want to join a serve team? I joined the creative. There was people there that was just like, you're good at talking. Do you want to do like interviews? And we did a couple interviews, we had a lot of fun. They were like, do you want to like get involved with like the environmental team, start cleaning up? So I'll be there on Saturday mornings cleaning up for Sunday afternoons.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just like people found out I do construction. I have my own tools. all right, can you help us do like, some setups, some tear downs, stuff like that for the community? Yeah, I can do that. The turkey giveaway, I did that.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to get involved in any way possible because the more I did, the more people I met, the more community I had.
Yeah.
And that's what really was initially what I needed from the get-go.
Was community.
Yeah, because like as a kid, it was just me by myself.
That's what I spoke on survival.
Yeah.
You speak on survival when you pick up on certain things. Man, I could relate so much. I feel like we grew up very similar and damn near in the same environment.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like pros and cons to it because not only like, you could use it multiple ways. You could either be the victim of it or you could use it as, you understand how it feels. So when you see those kids that are going through that too, not only are you going to be able to talk to them and hear them out, or them hear you out on your experiences, but also letting them know that you understand them. That's a whole different thing. Anybody could talk to you, but when you really understand that person and how they grew up, what they actually felt, it's a whole different ball game there. Yeah, and then now, if I was a kid and if I had you, I'd be like, yo, this is my role model. Look what he's doing now. And then
exactly.
You're forever a staple in their life, man. That's something beautiful that
sure.
A lot of us wish we had, growing up like that.
And I tell people that all the time. It's like I wanted at a certain age, I found out that what I really wanted, I wanted to be the male role model that I needed at the time.
Exactly.
Because I was just out here trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So like I remember I had this conversation with my nephew. He was like 16 or so. And he was having trouble in school because, it's whenever BU had turned to BU and it wasn't that no more. Mm-hmm. They had like jammed everybody. He was having some issues with some people there. And I was working at T-Mobile. And it was just a little cash job, like it wasn't W-2, it wasn't 1099, it was just straight cash out the register. And I was making X amount of money. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one day I was sitting outside smoking a joint and he walked up to me and he was like, Angel, I'm thinking about like you just dropping out of school and, finding something to do and maybe, getting a job where you're at.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I was like, why would you want to do that? And he says, well, I mean, look at you. You're doing pretty good. Like, I want to be like you. And my first thought was like, you have no idea the trials and tribulations it took for me to get here. Mm-hmm. Like, I would not want you to go through what I do. To go through
that, yeah. None of that. Because, not even a little bit of it.
Yeah, like, because, like, I listen to Zero a lot. And one of the songs Zero said, I know it looks like I'm rich, but I'm not. I just know how to take what I got, whip it till it look a lot.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just good at making what I have look good.
Yeah, make do with what you have.
Yeah, but I don't have nothing. Yeah. So it's like, I don't want you to be like me. Like, take advantage of the lessons I've had to learn by myself. Yeah. And do better yourself. Yeah. Like, that's all I've ever wanted. Yeah. So, like, when it comes to him, and they don't even got to be, like, related to me, bro. Like, it's just, I see a kid. Anybody, yeah. You go out anywhere, and you'll see a kid that just has potential, maybe just doesn't have the guidance. Yeah. And if you can relate to that kid and get him to, like, want to change himself, better himself, dude, I'm doing something right. Yeah, because like I tell this story all the time. Like I was told this program, this story back when I was doing AA. They said that there was two guys walking side by side. One of the guys falls in the hole. The dude with him was like, "Hey, bro, you fell in the hole." And the guy in the hole is like, "Yeah, I know, but I can't get out." And he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go get you some help." And the dude walks along, goes on with his life, forgets about it. Fast forward, a pastor walks by and he's like, "Hey, bro, you fell in the hole." He's like, "Yeah, and I can't get out." Pastor says, "All right, well, I'm gonna pray for you. Pastor goes on along. Fast forward, another dude walks by and he's like, "Oh snap, dude, you're in a hole." And he's like, "Yeah, I fell in the hole and I can't get out." So the dude jumps in the hole, and now the dude in the hole is like, "What are you doing? Now we're both in the hole." Yeah. Dude's like, "I know, I've been in this hole before. I'm here to show you how to get out."
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you want to be.
That's what I want to be like. Yeah. Because I could easily just be that guy, but like, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some help." And just duck off out of sight, out of mind.
I'm gonna go get you some milk.
Yeah, but I want to be that guy. It's like, I know it might be a detour myself. I'm on a certain path. Mm-hmm. I might have to pause that to help you get out of where you're at. Yeah. But helping you get out of that, you never know when down the line you're gonna help me out of a hole. Exactly. Same people you see on the way up, same ones you're gonna see on the way down. Yep. And it's like, I would hope that you have good things to say about people, or they have good things to say about you anyways. Yeah. That whenever you do see them on the way back down, that will help you out instead of like, oh, nah, I remember how you did me. Yeah. And that's an important thing to me. Yeah.
No, that's a really good lesson just all overall. But man, that's, I forgot where I was going with that. That was a really good, I'm a visualizer. So like I visualize things. So like, as you were telling that story, I was
kind of seeing it in your head.
I was looking down here a lot because I was creating like the whole entire scene down there. But that's cool though. And that's one of my goals too, with tattooing as well, because I made this whole shop to have everybody in here to be able to have a good work environment, and not somebody who's sitting here taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
Just being mean to them, or discrediting them in any kind of way. It's like I wanted to do this to be able to help artists, and to see somebody, when you give somebody an opportunity, and being able to give somebody an opportunity to where you see, like, you tell them in 3 years you're gonna have like your own lifestyle, you're gonna make a living out of that, you're gonna do whatever you want to do with it, and to see that come true with already two artists of mine, it's one of the most beautiful things. That's the type of stuff that I'm gonna remember right before my deathbed.
Absolutely,
it's like that. These are like what I did with my family, how I took care of them, how I equipped them. Same thing with my artists, and not just them. Like, that has to be in tattooing, but anybody around. Like, I'm always trying to help everybody as much as I can. But besides those few other things that you heard in church, has there been any like book or any sermon or something that stands out to you to this day?
Man, I was a weird kid, bro. So like I came across advice from any kind of source of, knowledge, I guess you'd say. So like one of my ways of talking to God before I was in church, so I wouldn't even say it was talking to God, it was just talking to my superior power.
Yeah.
Because that's how in AA we were identifying it, so your superior power. I would get home from work, 'cause I used to work overnights. I would get home from work about like 5, 6 in the morning, and I would just sit in my driveway. It was still dark. I would light me a joint, and I would have like 10,000 different songs, different genres, just mixed all across the board on my Apple Music. And I would just, press shuffle on the entire library. And whatever song popped up first, for some reason, I was meant to listen to it. And I would like look at the lyrics and just, heed the message. So I remember it was a couple of days after my buddy had passed away. And I was just kind of like, going through the ringer. I was in my driveway and I was smoking a joint and I pressed shuffle and this song by Kanye came on.
Which one was it?
It was called Bring Me Down featuring Brandy. And
listen to it.
It's one off his second album, off the not College Dropout, the Late Registration.
Okay.
So in the song, because I'm just sitting there feeling the vibe, and the lyrics came up, and in the lyrics, in the verse, he said, "You're gonna have to take my life before you take my drive, because when I was barely living, that's what kept me alive."
Ooh, that's a good one.
And it just hit so hard at that moment.
Yeah,
and
that should give me goosebumps, bro.
Yeah, it went so good that I actually got it tatted. It's right here.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, we did that, and it just kind of, like, resonated with me. So it's like, even whenever I'm on my very, very lowest, God didn't bring me this far for me to stop here. Like, I got to keep going. Like, you're going to have to take my life. I'm going to have to die before y'all going to see me give up.
That's all you had at that point was
legit.
Your drive, yeah.
And then it's like, so I would do that. I would listen to music, get a lot of information from music. I would go on Google and just Google, like, psychology quotes. Just to see like
some real life stuff.
Yeah, right? I would see like philosophers who would leave quotes and like artists and authors who would leave quotes and like, all right, how does that relate to me? How can I make that relate to me?
Yeah.
And like I would hear things all the time, and I would preach to people. Like I tell people all the time, like I don't preach out the Bible. I don't know the Bible enough for me to, quote it and be like, oh, this is how I got it. Like nah, I came Bible from the street, the ghetto gospel is how I came up.
Facts.
So like I just know things that relate to me and made me feel good. Hopefully you find the same way, and if it don't, maybe I can find you something that would.
Yeah.
So one of those things was, as a man, I struggled a lot with that credit. So I like people to know I did that, and that if you needed something, I'm the guy to go for it. And I would I would struggle with that a lot because like I want to be recognized, I want to be accredited for my work.
Yeah.
But then there's situations where it's like, you probably put in so much work into a project, and you're working with somebody else, and maybe they get a little bit more recognition than you do. And so you could, rebut and be like, nah, that was me. You could do that if you wanted to, but sometimes you don't really get the chance, or you don't even feel the need to.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot with a lot of men because, they want to know like, oh yeah, this is my house, this is my car, this is, I do this, I do that.
Yeah.
They want that credit. But what I've noticed a lot recently is the ones that get a lot further are the ones that take that back step and just, they just work in the shadows. They just work in behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And it's like the people on the forefront are just, the ones that are on the show.
Yep.
It's the guy that's behind the scenes that's making everything happen, but he gets like no credit whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so one of the quotes that I got from that I apply to a lot of guys struggling with that would be, when you do things the right way, people won't know you've done anything at all.
Yep.
And that's just it. Because like, it works a lot whenever, like, especially for being a dad.
Yeah.
Like you want to be involved in your kids' lives, but whatnot. But luckily for guys, you don't need to do a lot of work to be a dad.
Yeah.
The mom does a lot of the cooking, cleaning, feeding, bathing, and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Shout out to the moms for
For
real.
sure,
A
for
good,
sure.
a good mother. A good mother is
Absolutely.
definitely a blessing.
And it's just like guys have it easy because 90% about being a good dad is just showing up.
Yeah.
My nigga,
That's it.
Exactly. Like, you just gotta be there. You don't gotta do nothing else except just drive there, like a baseball game, a performance, whatever.
Be there.
Goals night, or even at home at dinner before you do homework.
Yeah.
Just like as long as you're there, they gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Because if you're not there, they gonna remember that.
Oh yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. Like dudes got easy off, like so easily.
Yeah. You're a father?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I'm
Not
planning
yet.
on it.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful experience, man. But definitely the first years is all about mama, you know. And sometimes it could be different, but just speaking from my own experience, it could be all about mama. And in the beginning, you might feel a little disconnected, you know, because you're like, damn, like that's my little dude. You know what I'm saying? Like it's my right hand man, but he wants to be all over mom, and it will happen like that. Once he starts turning about 3 or 4, and he starts wanting, he starts wanting to be like you, and you're like a superhero.
Yeah.
He starts watching the way you put a jacket on, the way you dress, the way you eat, the way everything, man. They start, and that's why I feel like that's our job. And right now, especially my son's about to be 9, and he's in 3rd grade. So like right now, it's all about making sure that he's being nice to other kids. He's helping out other kids. Anytime there's like a school thing, like a book fair or something, I give him extra money. I'm like, hey, if you see a kid that doesn't have the money or says like, hey, I wish I had this, or he's less fortunate, buy him something. I give him an extra $20 for that. And it's just, you start applying little things like that, you know.
Yeah.
We talked about one of his classmates gave him a piece of paper with his Fortnite gamer tag on it. And Katie was like, do you want to add him? And he was like, no. And I was just like, no, because you want to be mean to him, or like, does he have any friends? And he's like, yeah, he has friends. And I was like, so you're not being mean. I said, I'm just making sure this kid is not like trying to find friends, and he's not a cool kid, so all the cool kids are not trying to mess with him, you know, so you feel like you can't, you know. He was like, no, he has his own friends. And I was like, and I respect that. I said, I don't want you to be everybody's friend, you know, because if you're everybody's friend, you know, you're not God's friend, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I was like, man, like, just make sure you're not being mean to other kids, you know. And if like, just put yourself in that kid's position. Like, if he didn't have any friends and you were his only friend, and you could give him that chance to do it.
You just
know?
never know what the impact you're gonna have on
exactly,
that kid's life.
Because you hear other stuff all the time about kids, you know, hurting themselves and stuff like that because people are bullying them and stuff like that. My son is not gonna grow up like that, bro. Even for me, bro, when I was in high school, I hung out with everybody, bro. I hung out with people who considered the losers, the ones that were sitting in the corner playing hacky sack, the ones that all the athletes. I would hang out with everybody, bro, everybody. So that's one thing that I want to pass down to him too. Is just like, bro, just get along with a little bit of everybody, you know. Just don't be mean to people. You don't have to be everybody's friend. Just don't be mean to people.
Absolutely, man.
You know,
these kids nowadays, man, they're relentless, bro.
Like,
the kids that are right now, they have resources and tools that we did not have back then.
Like for the good and the bad.
Yeah, exactly. And like, say, back in the day, if you heard somebody was talking about you, you had to hear it through the grapevine. You know, you had to have like your homeboy came up with me like, hey man, I heard what such was talking about you. But nowadays it's like, they on TikTok, they on live talking about you, and it's like they expect you to hop on there too and talk back, and it's a whole different ballgame nowadays than it was back then. It's a lot easier back then.
Social media, no, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could get into.
Oh yeah,
but that, man, I can't wait for you to experience that, Angel, for real. It's such a beautiful thing. Every single part of the process is beautiful.
For sure.
With the kiddo, man. Definitely find you a good baby mama. It'll make it really tough if you don't.
I'm on the hunt right now, man.
Yeah, anybody hit up my boy if you're looking for one. You've heard this podcast. You hear what he's about.
You see my morals there.
Yeah, you see what he's about. A church man, help kids, bro.
Man, like, there's funny because there's always that post on Facebook. It gets shared a lot, and it's like, oh, girls want this hood, country, church going, hard working, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, just at me, bro. Like, that's
I'm
all
here.
It is.
I'm here. Yeah.
But no, it's like, one thing I would say for the dads that are listening to this kind of thing, man, like, you can never go too far where you can't come back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I'm not going to say, like, my dad was father of the year, like, he had his demons, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But, like, he didn't get back into my life as a full-time father up until, like, my teen years. Like, there was a point in time where I didn't even think he knew my name.
Wait, well, you guys grew up together and then your brother passed. Did it split the family or?
Essentially, yeah, because like, My sisters were handling their thing. My dad was just spiraling down, man. He took.
He went. Yeah,
he found
I couldn't even imagine what he.
Yeah, man. Like he found the joy at the bottom of a bottle. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I got
my
you.
mom was just like working, overworking. She just couldn't. My mom was to the point where she couldn't walk past his bedroom without like breaking down. She can't drive to Liberty without breaking down because that's where that's where his marker is and whatnot. And so like it was like that for years. Like, and we're 16 years out, and it's still kind of like that.
Yeah,
they don't like talking about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it doesn't go
you know,
away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it
like doesn't heal.
His grave is out there in the north end, and like my sisters probably haven't been there in like years. They don't like going out there. They don't like talking about it.
It's a deep wound, yeah, for sure.
And like one thing about it was like at the time when I was growing up, that's whenever like everyone kind of just shut down. Everyone started doing their own thing, and my dad really wasn't like involved with me a lot. Like he was, as far as the state of Texas was, he was there.
Yeah.
But he wasn't there like emotionally, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until like, I started going in and out of jail, that's when he started worrying about me. When they were trying to give me like 22 years in prison for like, all these felonies that I caught up.
Everything just built up basically.
Yeah, you know, like it was a point where like they were trying to send me away for a good little minute. And I was just so hard headed at the time that I was like, you know what? I'm not finna drop no money on no lawyer. I'm not finna do none of that. Like they trying to, give me 22. Tell them to give me 22. I'll take that on the head. Like I was in that mentality at the time.
So smart, but at the same time,
I was just ready to give up because I was like, I hate the world that hates me. Like I spent so much time thinking that I was just that black sheep. Nobody wanted me around. Nobody cared about me. That I was like, whatever. Maybe I'll find my little spot in jail. I'll run me something in prison. And I remember like having that mentality, and I was like, I'm not gonna waste no money on nothing like that.
Yeah.
And my dad had walked up to me, and it was the first time I'd ever seen him cry.
Yeah.
And he walked up to me with tears in his eye, and he was like, if you need money, just say the word. I'll go get you some money. I'll like, lean this and ask for this. Like, I just don't want to see you. I know what they do to people in prison. Like, I don't want to see you go through that,
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like, that was the first time I'd actually noticed that he cared, like intimately. And that's what kind of like set me on a tone for like, I don't want my parents to like feel that way with me. Like I know I can hold my own in situations that are sketchy.
Yeah.
But that's a whole burden on them that they don't deserve to carry.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, if I had the chance to like, prove my point, maybe get off a little bit, I'm gonna take it. And luckily for me, like they come 2020 in November, I went to court for the felonies. And I remember the judge was like, you've been here so many times. Like I went to court a lot as a kid.
At that time when you went to court, you already kind of like...
I was already established. Like the judges know me by name.
Yeah, but at that time, were you already? Were you already kind of like on a different path, or
I was beginning the path. Like I was trying to see where like the path would lead.
Okay.
But I was already at the end of my rope at that point.
Yeah.
And so whenever I was sitting in front of the judge, it was COVID time, so I couldn't get near him. He couldn't get near me. I had a face mask on, and they didn't want to let me talk. They didn't say anything to me. I just went up there, and they were like, do you plead guilty? Not guilty? How do you plead?
Yeah.
And I was like, guilty. Like it is what it is. I did what I did, and I'm just gonna take it on the chin.
Yeah.
And so I remember they sentenced me to 22 years in prison.
Wow.
They said they had the document signed up and whatever. I just so happened to have like a friend of mine was on the panel, and my lawyer was like transferring messages in between. So as I was going to sign the paper that said 22 years in prison, my lawyer stopped me. And he was like, hold on. And I was like, for what? What's going on? He went to go talk to the judge right quick. He came back like 5 minutes later. He's like, judge said, Merry Christmas. Get out of here. And I was like, what? And so on the paper it says 22 years. He's like scratched it out. And he just put 7 years probation. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was like, what? And it was like November-ish. And he was like, judge said, Merry Christmas, get out of here.
Don't ask no questions, get out of here. Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't.
From 22 to just walk out.
Yeah, exactly. From 22 to 7 years in probation. Like I had just did 2 years probation prior to that. So I was like, I'll take 7 years probation over 22 years in prison.
Yeah. There's something else out there, man.
Exactly.
That wasn't what you were supposed to do.
At all. And it's like, I was so ready to go because I remember whenever I got to court, I asked my lawyer, I was like, am I going to jail or not? And he was like, nah, don't worry about it.
He's trying
to go in front of the judge and he's like, yeah, no, prison right there, big man. Like I didn't even drive my own car there because I didn't want it to get impounded.
Yeah.
So I got dropped off because I was just, in my mind, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. Like I had already gave my dad a couple of dollars to put on my books.
Yeah.
Like I was just that ready.
You were ready, yeah.
I was just
as smart as you are, you were already
ahead of time. Yeah, because I was like, this is it. Like they gave me plenty of chances, bro. Like so many chances, and I just like squandered them away because I didn't care. And so whenever that happened, and I came across, and I got scot free. I was like, all right, cool. I did my little 7 years on the head, and I just got off last year.
Really? So
like I just got off last year, and ever since then, it's like I don't have to worry about that no more. Like, but I was in a different mentality then than when I went in.
Yeah.
So now it's like, first thing I wanted to do whenever got on is like, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna do my little time, and this minute I'm off, I'm going right back to it because anybody gonna tell me nothing.
Yep.
Fast forward 5 years, I don't feel that same way no more.
That's good, man.
Like it's completely 180. It's like all I want to do is just like get people that were in that mentality away from that mentality.
Yeah.
Because like it really is not enough. Like back when we were in like middle school, high school, I had a gang of dudes, just like 12, 13, 20 deep at one time. Not one of them is still around. Like
Same.
they're either like, you know, in the feds, in state, or they're dead, you know, like
Still doing the same thing.
skull and crossbones in a pile of bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so like all that was saying, I lost track with the first one. Is like me and my dad were butting heads a lot at the time, and it wasn't until he like, you know, finally showed that he cared to get me out of that situation that I was like, all right, I got to better myself. You know, I started doing better, and with me being better, he got better.
Exactly.
He stopped drinking so much, you know. And they got to a point where like, yeah, he wasn't involved a lot in my upbringing. You know, he wasn't dad of the year, but now at 28 years old, that's my best friend. Like I would die from that man.
It's never too late, bro.
Yeah, it's like, you know,
that's beautiful, bro.
Everybody out here is just like, oh, well, you know, I didn't really grow up with him. Like, you don't have to. Like, it's never too late to come back around, like, and have that relationship. It's just whether or not you want to let him do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like right now, like my sister's 35, and my mom was 35 when she gave birth to me. My sister already has 3 kids, and she told me like, man, if I had to start over and have a kid at 35, I'd kill myself because I'm not. That is not it. Like, so I can't imagine what it was like already having X amount of kids, and they're like, you're pregnant again. I'm 42. Like, that's a lot.
I'm glad that your dad came back around, man, and he did that and also grew together. I could only imagine how he felt in his head too, where it's like kind of like, damn, like, I let my son down, you know. And on top of healing, but that's the beauty of it, man. When we were younger, we get really rebellious and we don't understand. That's what it is, and then you start not giving a fuck, you know. So that's the beauty of it. When we get older, it's almost like those lessons were taught to us for a certain reason.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you know, even for me too, like I grew up without my father, but like I love that man. I appreciate him for helping me, you know, bring me in this world. And even though we don't talk and nothing like that, man, I'm always so grateful that you know.
Because it really is a choice. You know, you can decide to grow up and be bitter about it, or you can just like, you know, like, you know what? I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that it gave me the character that I have today. Yeah. You know, like it really was a stepping stone.
Yeah. Learning the what not to do's are sometimes more important than the what to do's.
Exactly.
To be honest. Yeah. That's one of the first ones. And even that, I apply that to a lot of things. Like if I get into like painting my own truck, I'm like, what not to do before I'm just like how to do it. I want to avoid those mistakes because it's all over, especially with social media and all of our resources through the internet now. Like all the fuck ups are there for you to learn before you actually do it right. You know? So I like to learn that first. But man, it's a blessing, man. Once you start seeing everything, childhood, your life, everything, you start seeing it as a lesson and like something positive that came out of that. For me, it's like I'll make sure my son doesn't go through that, doesn't feel that way. You know, as long as I'm here and all that good stuff. So for me, it's just like, man, I learned those lessons because if I would have learned, if I would have grown up in a perfect home, I probably would not be the father that I am today. I'll tell you that because of all that pain. That's what keeps me there. It's just like, I know what it feels like to not be there and all that stuff, to teach, not be taught those valuable lessons and all that stuff. I'm just like, man, like it's not about me anymore. I'm not the main character of this story anymore. Like my job is to help. So, and then once I realized that, I was like, boom, like once I started doing things for them and for my family and started seeing them happy, like you said, when you do stuff and, you know, for your own birthday, but you did it for other kids too. It's like when you see that, it's a different type of joy, bro. Oh yeah, it's a different type of you I don't know.
And it's like a lot of the growth for me was just like forgiving my parents because like you know, I could go on a list and be like, oh, well, they did this, they did that. We can go on a list and be like, oh, but then it's like as a man, I sat back and reflected because like I said, I had a lot of downtime. I had a lot of downtime. I sat back and reflected. And it's like, well, maybe at the time it wasn't as easy as it was for my parents at the time. Like, there's nobody. Their first generation, they came straight from Mexico, so it's not like they're in their homeland. They're not in somewhere they're familiar with. They just know the people around them, and they're just trying to get by. So like I don't know what it was like for them. I wasn't the one struggling at the time. I wasn't the adult
You weren't in
at the
their
time.
shoes. You weren't in them demons.
And so like it kind of weighed on me because like I didn't have the responsibilities they had at the time.
Exactly.
And the responsibilities they had back then are not the same ones today. So it was like a whole different ballgame. So I can only imagine the stress. And I mean, man, how else could you deal with that without go get a bottle right quick? Like
exactly, trying to find an escape out.
Like I'm just lucky enough to say like all his worst demon was he drank a lot. Like, he never once laid a hand on my mom. He never laid a hand on me, on any of my siblings. He never like did drugs in front of us. He was like,
he did his own dirt
yeah,
at his own time.
like that was the worst thing he ever had was the fact that he drank. But he was the greatest person ever. Like he talked a lot of shit. I don't get me wrong. Like he probably made me one of the greatest shit talkers out here. But but besides that, like it was a lot easier to live with him. But once my brother passed away, he got a little bit more deeper in it.
Yeah. I mean,
but even then, he still didn't cross that threshold. He didn't get like cross any lines. He didn't cross any boundaries.
It was within himself.
You just see that he was drinking a lot more, and he was affecting him more than it was us.
Yeah, that's good that he wasn't projecting that out and like blaming you guys for certain things, because I've heard stuff like that happen, and I've even been victim to that before. So I'm glad that like I said, that's a really good story, man. That he woke up and he was like, man, I gotta make do with what I have. You know what I'm saying? To bring that back. That's one of the beauty of it. You still have a chance. It's never too late.
For sure.
It's never too late.
And like as much as I don't want to admit it to him, because he gets a little big headed. Like, a lot of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, I learned because of him.
Yeah.
When it was like, I remember we started my first construction job, and like I didn't know any better, so I figured like, oh, I'm using the box cutter, and I sliced my finger over, like not even really, it's like a paper cut. Yeah. And I was like, what do? I need a Band-Aid. I need disinfectant. I need to go home. And he was like, if you don't put some tape on that, like you'll be all right. Like we're being a baby. Yeah. And it was just like, it's like that? Like what? Like he's like, yeah. So anytime I get hurt, as stubborn it is, I'm not trying to go home. I've snapped fingers on like job sites. I done like slip my knees open and whatnot.
Super glue, bro. Super glue is one of the best things.
Super glue and duct tape, bro. Like just keep it pimping. Like,
I was cutting an apple one time with this super sharp knife that I had just bought, and I was just like all proud to use this fucking knife. And I went and pressed down on the apple, which it was a really sharp knife, but it had no teeth or anything like that, right? So it kind of just like
one single swipe.
Yeah, and it was on the surface, so it went zoop. It came off the apple, and it completely like took like almost half of my finger here up, and it was bad. I called my buddy who's a fireman. He sees all kinds of things, and I was like, bro, I said, do I need to did I cut something in there that I need an index finger? I was like, do I need to go to the hospital or something? He said, man, put some super glue. He goes, he put some super glue, wrap it up. He goes, if it's still bleeding in about an hour or two, then you could go. Yeah. But super glued it, wrapped it up, and two hours later it stopped bleeding. And I was like, I'm good. And I kept on applying super glue for like a week and a half.
Same here, bro.
That should have been stitches, bro.
It really, because like that happened to me not too long ago. Matter of fact, like I was in my room, I was shaving, and I use a straight razor. I don't use the dual razors. Yeah, I was using the straight razor, and my hands were wet because I'm putting oil and shit on my face to lather it up. And my hands were wet, and the razor blade slipped out of my hand. So I have this hand here, and I'm pulling the skin, I'm shaving. The razor blade fell out of my hand and just nicked me all the way down right there. Thing was wide open, just like leaking. And like my first thought wasn't, oh my God, I'm cut open. My first thought was like, that's crazy. And I pinched it closed. I walked downstairs with my roommate, and I was like, hey, y'all got some tape? And like his wife was like, tape for what? And I was like, I just sliced my hand open. I'm trying to tape it back up. They're like, what? She goes to the bathroom, comes out with like a first aid kit, like, septic, the whole 9 yards. And she's like, putting this liquid bandage on there. And she's like, oh my God, you got to go to urgent care. You got to go get some stitches. And it's like, stitches? Who got money for stitches? Yeah, like I'm good. Like I'll just tape it up. They're like, you can't get past tape. And so like, of course, we did. I went to HEB, shout out HEB Plus. Yeah. And I got some Steri strips, some liquid bandage, and I just, put it together, applied it over and over again, and it healed up. I mean, it's going to be a crazy looking scar later on, but that was my dad speaking. It was just,
it's always him. Yeah,
you'll be all right. Just keep him pimping.
What is one piece of advice that you could go back and tell yourself?
Man, if I were one piece of advice, it would just be. That one's hard.
It's a really tough one. That's why I saved it for the end. You got to think about it. But like I said, think about it. I could edit all this completely.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, if I was one piece of advice that I could give my younger self, it would just be to be more open-minded and stop being so stubborn. Yeah. Because I was like on a tunnel vision. I was on a one-track mind, and it was kind of like, if I'm a Hispanic boy and I'm, in a certain position, a certain demographic, I'm destined to be that guy. And like, so that was my mentality for a long time. It was like, I don't know why I'm going to school if the public school system was not set up for us to succeed. Nah. I remember getting stopped in high school and be like, I don't know why you're getting ready for class. You ain't gonna be nothing more than like a roofer. You ain't gonna be nothing more than a concrete finisher. You're gonna be another laborer on a crew. Yeah. And I was like, well, damn, like if that's, you hear it so many times, you believe it.
Yeah, you start believing it. You're like, well, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, so like after a while, that's when it's like, well, why am I even here then? Like, why am I doing any of this? it wasn't until like I went to Westbrook, that's what happened there. Like I would get stopped by the VPs and whatnot. They'd be like, they would hold me and then write me up for being late. Like it was like that. And so after I got kicked out of Westbrook my junior year, and I got sent to a charter school called Evolution. So Evolution, the principal there was actually a former VP at Westbrook. So she already kind of knew me, but now she was in a principal role. And so whenever I got to the Evolution, she would stop me. She's like, "You look so familiar. Like, where do I know you from?" Like, "You probably saw me in your office quite a few times."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, I remember you from Westbrook. Yeah."
Badass kid.
Exactly. Yeah, like, I was just that badass kid. But she had said to me something that was like a little bit more intuitive. She was like, "I want to see a change in you." And I was like, well, "You and everybody else. We'll see what." Like, we'll
Good
see
luck.
what. Yeah. And so like the way she set up Evolution was a lot different than a lot of public schools. Like it's a charter school, so it's not part of BISD.
Yeah.
And so for you to graduate Evolution, to get your diploma, she wouldn't give it to you unless you brought back proof that you had applied to at least 2 colleges and took a tour.
Yeah.
So like if you applied there, she'd give you your thing, but you also had to take the SAT or the ACT, and then you had to take the ASVAB for the military. So she made us go through all of that, or she wouldn't give us a degree or a diploma anyway.
But you were smart anyway, so you
Yeah, so like I took it, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but I had to for the diploma.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because she forced us to do it that I realized, oh, I made a really high SAT score. I scored really high on the ASVAB. I got accepted to the Air Force. And like you have to be a certain level to get to the Air Force. I went to LIT, I took a tour there, and then I took the TSI, the Texas State something for Lamar, and I got accepted to Lamar. Only thing was I had already had a record, so I didn't qualify for a lot of grants. So like, I couldn't go to Lamar, but I got accepted to Lamar.
Gotcha.
And so like, whenever I did all that, that's when she was like, "You see, all this time you've been talking down on yourself, yada, 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 but you just proved to yourself that you could go over there if you truly wanted to.
Yeah.
Like if you put your own like work towards it, you could do that. And like you're just so used to people telling you won't do it that you didn't want to do it. Like, but here I am telling you can, and now you will.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever I got kicked out of Westbrook, my GPA was a 1.1. It took me a year and a half, and all the classes that I could take online, I graduated with like a 2.9.
Nice.
I was like so close to graduating with a 3.0. I was just, a 0.01 away from graduating like honors. But, it was better than not graduating at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was on my plate as well. I was like, I'm just going to drop out. I'm like, I might come back at a GED, but I'm so glad that I had that support role model in my corner at the time. And she got me through my high school process. And mind you, in Westbrook, I got held back 3 times. I never got promoted. I was a 9th grade freshman for 3 years.
God dang.
Because I didn't care. Like I didn't get.
You
no
were just
credits.
like there, yeah.
Yeah, I was just there. Like I was
That's
just there getting
crazy.
free food and taking naps in every class.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in time where like if I just didn't like what the teacher was saying, I would just walk out. Like I wouldn't walk. I'm not one of them kids where it's like I'm gonna walk out and go hide the math building. I'm gonna go hide.
You just.
I would walk straight out, like straight out the front door, down the driveway, hop on the train tracks, and walk my ass home.
Yeah.
Like if I'm leaving, I'm
stop
leaving.
at the corner store. Get
Yeah,
you something,
like
right?
if I'm leaving, I'm leaving. Like I'm not gonna hide out and come back next. Like no, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And so like that was the mentality I had back then. And then when I got kicked out and I went to Evolution, that's like the mentality they instilled over me. And it's like it was a different vibe because like now instead of them just accepting kids and getting paid to be at school, they gave a shit about us.
Yeah.
Like they put us on. Like some people didn't take advantage of that kind of environment. Some people did.
Yeah.
Some people like grew up to be like very successful people coming out of Evolution. Some people just,
got a wake up call there, and especially like if nobody at your house is believing in you.
Yeah.
And then regular school they don't either. But when you go over there, you get a little bit more attention there.
Absolutely.
Depending on how you take it.
And it's like I ran into her, the principal, maybe a year ago at the bowling alley, and she was like, "Oh my God, I remember you. Like, what are you doing now?" And I gave her like a rundown of all my accomplishments. She's like, "See, I told you can do it."
That's awesome.
Like it was a nice feeling. So like if she did that for me, I can't imagine what the feeling be like if I did that for somebody else.
You will, bro.
And so like my advice for a younger people was like, just be open more on my stop being so stubborn.
Yeah.
Like that's your biggest flaw. You think you can do everything by yourself, but there's no shame in asking for a little bit of help.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of us need that. What's a good way to get a hold of you, Angel? Because you talked about a lot of good stuff. You talked about, church, and maybe somebody watching this might need some help and want to reach out to you and just talk a little bit more personal, get to know you a little bit better. How can somebody look you up or
you
get
can
a hold
always
of you?
just, catch me on Facebook. Angel Peña is my page. And if not, I mean, hey, Redemption Church, I'm there on Sundays, but ask for me, 601 Park Street. We're there once every week. If not, first Wednesday of every month, Redemption. Besides that, you can catch me almost anywhere. You'll catch me like at IHOP, Waffle House.
Catch me outside.
You know, you can catch me all around. Like I get recognized all the time, and it's so
Yeah.
hard to be invisible in this city whenever
Yeah.
you got that aura of you.
Yeah,
you know?
you do. You got it. Yeah,
Like,
really good energy, man.
I get stopped by strangers, and they'll be like, "I just like talking to you, bro."
Yeah, stay here. You wanna be my friend?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
happened before. Even worse is like whenever I'm on a date, they'll like catch me out there. I'm like, "Hey, I know you from somewhere." Like, it's not what you think.
Yeah, it's like, that's my baby daddy.
Yeah. Like, y'all gonna get me in trouble. Stop.
Yeah. Nah, man. Well, I appreciate you swinging through, man. And I'm really glad that you started seeing those positives in your life and you're moving differently now and you're starting to see the benefits of that as well. And, you know, I go to Redemption too. You go to Redemption. So it's also, I'm glad to have you part of the community as well, man.
Absolutely.
But
man.
yeah, I'm pretty sure this won't be the last one and we'll keep this going. And yeah, man, thank you so much for coming by.
Appreciate you for having me, man. I loved it.
Yes, sir.